So I've been thinking about something that's sort of been nagging at me about crypto and enterprise adoption. We keep hearing about these big companies getting into blockchain, right? Banks, payment processors, all these giant institutions. But then you look under the hood and a lot of it seems like it just doesn't ship, or it's a pilot that goes nowhere.
That's actually the perfect framing for what we're diving into today. There's this piece from A16Z Crypto that basically says enterprises don't fail to adopt blockchain because they don't see the value. They fail because everyone's asking them to do the wrong thing.
Which is,
Run their own infrastructure, build their own chains, become blockchain companies when they're trying to be banks or payment processors.
wait, so the problem isn't the technology, it's that we're asking JP Morgan to become Coinbase?
Essentially, yeah. And when you frame it that way, it sounds absurd. But that's been the pitch for years. Hey, you could issue your asset here. You could run payments on our chain. And to an enterprise, that sounds like run your own payments network, which is absolutely not what they want.
Okay, so let's unpack this. What do enterprises actually want when they're looking at blockchain?
They want the outcomes: faster settlement, better liquidity, lower reconciliation costs. They know blockchain can deliver those things, but they want it to work like any other enterprise software. Someone else handles the infrastructure, they just get the benefits.
Like how companies don't run their own data centers anymore. They use AWS.
Exactly. And here's what's interesting. The article breaks down three actual paths to enterprise adoption that are working right now. The first is the simplest. Just deploy onto someone else's existing chain. The corporate or their partner built on top of public infrastructure. Low lift, broad reach.
But you're playing by someone else's rules, right?
Right, and that creates some real concerns for enterprises. Like every time the chain upgrades, they're dependent on a validator set they don't control. If validators adopt the new version at different speeds, you could have performance issues or worse.
That's a legit concern for a bank moving billions of dollars.
Absolutely. The second path flips it around. You attract partners to deploy onto your chain. So the protocol team builds the network, handles compliance, provides technical support. The partners handle distribution and integration. This is where most enterprise adoption is actually happening today.
So the chain becomes infrastructure as a service, basically.
Yeah, but even then, the protocol team isn't usually delivering the end solution. They still need delivery partners, integrators, issuers, people who actually deploy and manage the system in production. The protocol supplies the rails, the partner makes them usable.
And the third path?
Full stack as a service. The protocol offers turnkey infrastructure for specific use cases or verticals. Optimism just launched something called OP Enterprise that does exactly this. It bundles deployment, governance, operational support. The enterprise gets to use the network without owning or running anything.
This feels like a fundamental shift in how we think about blockchain adoption. It's not about getting enterprises to believe in decentralization or buy into crypto culture. It's just solving their problems with the right tools.
And making it dead simple to integrate. There's this concept in the article called design partners that I think nails how this should work.
Design partners, is that just a fancy term for early customers?
No, it's more specific. A design partner commits to working closely with the protocol team to map a real production workflow onto the chain, often before the product is fully built. The protocol handles deployment, compliance, throughput tuning. The partner integrates only the components relevant to their business logic.
So the chain is built for them, not by them.
Exactly. And this creates a feedback loop. For chains that haven't launched yet, design partners help shape the network around real workflows, not theoretical ones. For chains already live, they help refine the roadmap, create credible reference cases, validate use cases.
But I imagine there's a difference between a real design partner and just slapping logos on your website for credibility.
Huge difference. A strong design partner program means depth of engagement, real product feedback cycles, actual integration work, production workflows. Without that, you might get some early visibility, but it doesn't translate to long-term adoption, especially if another option makes integration easier.
Are we seeing this play out anywhere in the real world yet?
Yeah, and it's not just one chain. Avalanche has these evergreen subnets working with traditional financial institutions on tokenized assets. Avalanche manages the network layer, partners bring distribution. Base is doing integration work with Coinbase's enterprise clients. Circle is collaborating with banks and payment service providers.
And in all these cases, the enterprise doesn't have to run anything themselves.
Right, the chain becomes invisible, which is actually the goal. The article has this great line: adoption happens when the chain disappears.
So if you're a protocol team trying to get enterprise adoption, your job is less about convincing corporates and more about enabling the partners who serve them.
Exactly. Identify the integrators, processors, custodians who work with the companies you're targeting. That could be consulting firms like Accenture or Deloitte, specialized providers like Alchemy or Fireblocks, or in some cases, processors like Stripe or custody providers like Anchorage.
And then what? Just hand them documentation and hope they build?
No, you have to empower them to actually advocate for your solution. That means joint technical deep dives, co-branded enablement sessions, quick start demos showing how your infrastructure plugs into their existing tooling. Some teams even produce public walkthroughs or sandbox demos that partners can share during discovery.
So you're essentially building a sales force that isn't on your payroll.
And that's already embedded with the enterprises you want to reach. The goal is to make it so easy for these partners to integrate your chain that it becomes the default choice when they're solving a client problem.
Okay, I want to pull on something here. We haven't talked about internet computer at all, and usually when we're discussing infrastructure challenges, there's at least some angle where ICP's architecture might be relevant. Is that the case here?
It's interesting. ICP's full-on chain hosting model does address one specific pain point in the enterprise conversation. A lot of these chains require enterprises to maintain separate front-end infrastructure, run their own APIs, and manage off-chain components. With ICP, you can host everything on-chain, including the interface and business logic.
So it's more of a complete package from an infrastructure perspective.
Right. And the reverse gas model, where smart contracts pay for their own computation instead of users paying transaction fees, could simplify the user experience for enterprise applications. But, and this is important, ICP still needs to solve the same core challenge we've been talking about.
Which is making it easy for partners to deliver solutions.
Exactly. Having a unique architecture doesn't matter if you can't enable integrators to build on it seamlessly. Every chain is competing on the same metric. How much friction do you remove for the people actually shipping enterprise solutions?
And that requires the same partner enablement work, the same design partner approach, regardless of the underlying tech.
Yeah, there's no shortcut. You can have the most elegant architecture in the world, but if Deloitte can't easily integrate it into their clients' engagements, or if Fireblocks can't add it to their custody stack without months of custom work, enterprises will go with whatever's easiest.
Let's zoom out for a second. What does this shift mean for crypto broadly? Because it feels like we're moving away from the code is law ethos and towards something that looks more like traditional enterprise software sales.
I think that's a false dichotomy. The protocols are still permissionless, still decentralized in most cases. What's changing is the go-to-market strategy. Instead of expecting enterprises to become believers in crypto culture, we're just making it easier for them to use crypto infrastructure to solve real problems.
Right, but doesn't that create some tension? A lot of these protocols were built with very specific values around decentralization, permissionlessness, censorship resistance. If you're partnering with banks and payment processors, aren't you potentially compromising those values?
It depends on the implementation. If the protocol maintains its core properties and the enterprise is just using it through a partner, the decentralization is still intact. The enterprise application might have compliance layers, might have permissioned elements, but that's happening at the application layer, not the protocol layer.
So it's similar to how anyone can build on Ethereum, including centralized companies, but that doesn't make Ethereum itself centralized.
Exactly. The challenge is when protocols start making architectural trade-offs specifically to accommodate enterprise requirements. That's where you have to be careful. You can enable enterprise use cases without becoming an enterprise-only chain.
What should people be watching for as this plays out? Like, what are the signals that this approach is actually working?
I'd look for a few things. First, actual production deployments, not pilots. Second, watch which integrators are building robust offerings on top of which chains. If you see Accenture or Deloitte or Stripe meaningfully investing in one chain over others, that tells you something about ease of integration.
And probably which chains are doing the best job with partner enablement.
Right. Third, watch for what I'd call disappearing chain dynamics. Enterprise products where the blockchain is so abstracted away that end users don't even know they're using it. That's when you know it's working.
Like Visa's stablecoin settlement. Most people using Visa have no idea it's touching blockchain infrastructure.
Perfect example. And that's the future of enterprise adoption. It's not about getting enterprises excited about crypto. It's about crypto infrastructure becoming so easy to integrate that it's just the obvious choice for solving certain problems.
So there's something almost anticlimactic about that, right? We spent years talking about how blockchain was going to revolutionize everything, how it was going to disrupt all these industries, and the actual path to adoption is just making it boring and easy to use.
I think that's exactly right. And honestly, that's how most transformative technologies work. The internet didn't go mainstream when people were excited about TCP/IP. It went mainstream when you could just click a link and it worked.
So the revolution is less dramatic than we expected, but maybe more durable.
Yeah, and here's the thing. The outcomes are still revolutionary. Faster settlement, programmable money, global liquidity, transparent reconciliation. These are massive improvements. But the path to get there is through boring enterprise sales processes and partner enablement, not through everyone becoming a crypto believer.
All right, so if you're listening to this and you work at a protocol, what's the takeaway? What should you do differently tomorrow?
Stop trying to convince enterprises to run blockchain infrastructure. Start identifying which partners serve your target enterprises and make it ridiculously easy for those partners to build on your chain. Invest in documentation, enablement, sandbox environments. Think of partner success as your primary metric.
And if you're at an enterprise evaluating blockchain options,
Ask yourself who's going to do the work. If a protocol is pitching you on building your own infrastructure, that's probably the wrong conversation. Look for chains that have strong integrator partnerships, clear service models, proven production deployments. You want the capability, not the operational burden.
this has been a really clarifying conversation. I feel like we've been watching this trend for a while, enterprises dipping their toes in crypto, but this framework makes sense of what's actually working versus what's just noise.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see this accelerate. The chains that figure out partner enablement are going to capture most of the enterprise market. The ones still trying to sell directly to corporates are going to struggle.
Don't sell the chain, sell the capability.
Exactly. The chain is just the delivery mechanism.